we've got a lot of non-football stuff to start off with. And by the way, I do want to talk about the slapping also at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
But yes, we started. Nick asked me where we're on base right now, and I was supposed to be in Paraguay, but I'm not. As you can tell from my background, this is obviously not Paraguay. There's no hope. No, I'm just kidding. But so apparently, if you want to fly to Paraguay from Brazil, you need a yellow fever vaccination. And
Mm.
I don't do research on stuff. Like, that's just not the person I am. So I got to the airport and they told me that. And I tried to sit on the flight because I was like, look, just let me in. If they kick me out, I'll pay for my own ticket. And they were like, well, you got a lot of money. I'm already out of a lot of money, right? So they almost let me on, but they didn't. Because my plan was this. My plan was to get to the airport because you need a yellow fever vaccination from Brazil, but not from America. So what I was going to do is just get to the airport, get to the terminal, sit down, get a cup of coffee, and then 30 minutes later go through immigration. I'm no longer with Brazilians. I'm just an American at this point, and they don't ask for my vaccination, but they wouldn't let me through. So I had to come back to Brazil, and I'm now here for 2 weeks. While I'm getting my vaccination tomorrow, and you have to get it for 10 days before you fly. So that sucks. But my entire weekend was like fucked with a whole bunch of shit. So I wasn't able to watch as many games as I wanted to because of that. So I think we should divide this show where we talk about the games that I actually watched, and then,
Sure.
I'm just going to ask you questions about the games I did watch, if that works.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. So, like the first game, if you don't mind, like I want to talk about Poland versus Netherlands.
Oh
That
yeah, cool. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was really close for you guys. Like it was razor thin, razor thin. You guys played well.
My favorite part of the entire match though was Chiellini. I love Chiellini. He's such a great halftime like commentator. Like what I found great was like they clearly had queued up a conversation about playing zone versus playing man, and Chiellini was like, "This isn't about zone versus man. This is just the way that you mark your defender." And he went into like in depth about how you mark a defender, and you can tell all these other people who weren't world class defenders had no idea what he was talking about. And that's why I love having people who actually play football at a high level in these sense of things, not fucking Alex Lawless or whatever. You know what I mean?
I remember him. I remember him. Yeah.
Wait, but I'm guessing you guys have Chiellini. Who's your commentators?
It depends. So it's on two channels. The one on BBC is like Gary Lineker, who hosts like Match of the Day, and then there's like Micah Richards, and there's a few guys there. And then I prefer the ITV coverage because you have Ian Wright, Roy Keane. Um,
Oh, that must be great.
yeah, I mean the band Gary Neville's on there as well from time to time. I think BBC also have Rio Ferdinand, so they've split between the two channels. Um,
Yeah.
I would like to see Gary Lineker, Ian Wright, and Roy Keane all reunited on one panel, kind of like how Match of the Day used to be. Ian Wright just left Match of the Day this year. So
Yeah.
it depends. They kind of broke it down. The analysis is always good. Kino is always great. You know, he breaks it down really well. Um, they're looking. I don't think there was much detail as probably Chiellini would have. I would have loved. I might sort of YouTube that. See what channel was that on? Who covered that?
It's on Fox, which is the
I'll
American
see if I
channel.
can get a YouTube clip of that because that would have been great. Chiellini, obviously, I think Mourinho said once him and Bonucci could like teach a PhD on on how to defend at Harvard University. They were that good. Obviously, they were proper professors of the
Oh,
game. So
100%. I
I
think Italian football in general is very defensive minded.
a lot more time.
Plus they play on the block, and like I feel like in terms of I feel like defenders, there's the largest difference between types of play. Like if you think about it, like yes, there's a huge difference between a counter-attacking forward and like a possession forward, but like it's not that like you can easily switch between the two. While I feel like a low block defender versus a high block defender is a completely different skill set. You know what I mean?
So I'm guessing this is the first goal, the Poland goal that they were analyzing, right? When they scored from the
Yeah,
corner.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'll definitely check it out. I'm a bit more old school in the sense that I remember the days of man marking, so it wasn't zonal. It was literally man on man. You just because I feel like there's a lot more accountability with zonal. Zonal works a lot, and it's obviously the modern way to do it. But there's a lot more fingers that can be pointed. There's a lot more excuses can be made. Were you in the right zone? What zone were you covering? Someone made a run. They came from that zone to this zone. With man
Yeah,
marking, I just feel like I think it worked better when I used to watch the old, obviously better defenders, but the old United defense used to be pretty solid at corners. Man marking, stick to your man. If you get beat, you get beat. You know whoever scored the goal, whoever was marking him didn't do their job. The one with the
yeah,
Poland, I think he went and ran in front of one of the other defenders, and he was in between someone and Van Dijk, I believe. And
yeah,
great header, great delivery, but it was just a little bit too easy. Like he didn't have to do much. He kind of just got his head on it. Didn't really have to beat anyone. And then the kind of questions we'll be asking, like it was, I think it was the guy in front, maybe, but then someone might say, "Oh, Van Dijk was behind. He saw it. Maybe he should have covered. He's such a presence." So the whole zonal thing, where it's like, who's really at fault? Sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's just. I think man-to-man marking, even though it's antiquated now, there's just a lot more accountability, and it just seems to work. It used to work a lot. And then the
yeah,
second thing, and this I'll never understand, is why there's no one on the posts. So okay, let's say you went zonal marking. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but if there was someone on the back post, they would have cleared it off the line. You always
yeah,
have, growing up playing, it always used to be someone on the front post, someone on the back post. Obviously, you lose two players in terms of marking, but the other opposition team's not going to put all 10 in the box. You know what I mean? Like, I personally would
yeah,
rather sacrifice two players, one on the front, one on the back post, in case. And in fact, I would actually put the shorter guys there a little bit more. You know what I mean? Have your big guys marking the players, real zonal stuff, whatever. And then just have some agile, maybe your wing backs on the front post and the back post just to clear the lines. Like that Poland header, it
yeah.
came in, guy knocked it down, went to the back post. If someone had been there, short, tall, whatever, they could have just cleared it off the line. Keepers beat.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing about Chiellini was like you could tell that like they had queued up a conversation of man versus zone, and all the people on the panel were ready for that conversation about man versus zone. And Chiellini was just like, "Yeah, I mean, it doesn't actually matter. Like, if you would have done man or zone, he just did his job poorly. It's just like
Yeah.
Van Dyke
Either
just
way,
sucked
yeah,
in this."
no, either way. I mean, yeah, so on.
And that's the beauty of having someone like Chiellini is that like for us who can teach a college course in defending at Harvard, like we see it and we're like, oh, okay, well, like it's a zone. We think about all these types of things. And Chiellini, who is one of the best defenders of all time. I mean, I don't know, maybe top. I'm not saying top 5 or top 10. I'm just saying like he's in that
Yeah, in
conversation
that
of
bracket,
you
yeah,
know,
he's a legend, yeah.
greatest.
I mean,
He
the
looks
other
at it, he's just like, no, it's not, there's a completely different issue here. And so what he said is that he had to turn his body to half look at the ball and half look at the guys around him. He said he was too fixated on the ball. And if he had
he's only
turned his
half
body,
pivot. Yeah,
he would have
yeah.
seen the guy and just hit him pretty hard and knocked him off of his line.
Another issue I find is again with the zonal more so than man marking is you're in zonal, you're standing in a spot, you're in an area, right? Now, you'd say if the guy's standing next to you in the zonal area, yeah, you can tussle with him, this and that. But what happens a lot of time is with zonal, the eventual guy that makes contact with the ball or the goal scorer might be a couple yards behind you or like across. Now, the
Yeah,
problem is he now has a run on you. You're standing there static in your zone and the ball's coming in for a header. You can jump standing on the spot, but who's going to get the better leap? The guy standing on the spot, or the guy running, getting 3-4 yards, couple steps, and then leaping for it. Do you know what I mean? So another issue with zonal, which I find a lot these days with the modern defender, especially in the league, Victor Lindelof always gets beat in the air, whether he's standing in the spot or if it's zone or whatever. Like, but what I find is with defenders like that aren't really big presences in the air. Again, with zonal, do you really want them standing there static and then just waiting for the ball to come? And like Keelan said, if they're not on half pivot, they're completely blindsided. The attacker's got a couple of yards pace, a couple of yards run on him, gets a bit of a running start, jumps up, leaps in the air, already going to win the aerial battle. There's just a lot of so there's a lot of issues with the zonal. I've never really been a fan of zonal. I remember, I think it was 2009, 10. United started sort of heading, or the football in general, the Premier League started heading more zonal around the 2010s. And I just wasn't
yeah.
a fan. I was old fashioned, just man to man, do what you have to do. If you get beat, you
I'm
get beat.
I'm a fan of man to man in all sports. The one exception of it is American football. And the only reason is because a zone versus a man is a very different type of look for a quarterback. So
Right.
what most defenses do in American football is they'll play man one play and play zone another play to confuse the quarterback.
It's a
Because
game of, yeah. You have to confuse him.
you have to
Yeah.
attack those defenses differently. So that makes sense, in my opinion. But in general, I completely agree. Like give the person the responsibility. Here's your man, take him on,
Yeah,
and
just
whoever's better wins.
prior to the
Um,
game, you know who roughly the team sheets are going to be. So you just start, you plan, your manager starts planning accordingly. Okay, you're number 4, you're going to be on, their number 6 when the corners come in or when there's a free kick. So any set piece, you drill it enough. You have enough video now, enough evidence to sort of on the week leading up to the game, you can see their habits, you can see their mannerisms. You should have enough information where you can make a detailed plan. Obviously, things happen where players can just turn up on a game and just outdo each other. That's fine. But on the whole,
yeah.
I don't understand why man-to-man marking isn't more of a thing. I hope it comes back. Let's see. You never know. Things are, like I said, swings and roundabouts in football. But this zonal marking, I've never been a fan. It works. But for me, it's just so many issues. The man marking, I'm sorry, the man-to-man system, the standing in the spot, having people on the post. Like if I'm doing zonal, I'm 2 people on the person on each post, guaranteed. Because 9 times out of 10, I think the zonal guy is going to get beat. But if you have someone on the line, at least they can make a goal line clearance.
Speaking of people not knowing their position, this is a great transition. I'm very proud of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Okay.
I
I want
think
you to go.
that
Go on. Tell
he
me
was
more.
big. He was the big loser in the game. I'll say two things about it, and then I want to hear your thoughts. Obviously, no, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. We're gonna move on to the next subject. You can't comment. So like we've been talking, and everyone's been talking. Every Liverpool fan talks about this. Everyone talks about this. How Trent Alexander-Arnold is not a right back. He needs to play defensive mid, right? And the 4-2-3-1, or he could play, like a Mazzala, like an actual midfielder, but that's a different conversation. But like the 4-2-3-1 is kind of the perfect midfield formation for him, right? Because he doesn't have too much defensive responsibilities. And in the 4-2-3-1, the defensive midfielder does a lot more creating than they'll do in like a 4-3-3, for instance. Where in a 4-3-3, you're really a sweeper and you're not really you're still instigating the offense, but your primary responsibility is defense. And the problem is for Trent Alexander-Arnold is he just looked lost out there. Like he was just not involved. He was just wandering about, and it was like, why? And I've had a lot of people texting me like, why is he even on the pitch in this game? He doesn't look like it looks like they're playing 10 on 11 right now. And so here's my theory, right? Is that I don't think that this is a condemnation of TA or even him playing that position. I think this is the first time he's played defensive midfielder in probably like 3-4 years. And I think he just doesn't know how to play the position. And for me, I think the big issue for him is that when you're playing a back four, the right back doesn't actually have to do anything to get the ball. Like you just naturally get the ball in the course of the game. Like for example, the center back passes the other center back, he passes to the right back. Or what will happen is, given to you for you to initiate the offense to the right winger, or you create a triangle with you, the midfielder, and the right winger where you're passing. Like you naturally get the ball in those situations. Versus a defensive midfielder in that situation, you kind of have to instigate a little bit. You kind of have to give the center backs a reason to give you the ball, because otherwise you're just sitting there and you're 5 feet ahead of the center back. And you're telling the center back the ball. The center just like, why don't I give you the ball? Like, we're not giving the ball accomplishes nothing for our offense whatsoever, except that you have the ball instead of me. And so what I think what I saw happening a lot with him is he just kind of stood there asking the ball, and the center backs or the other defensive mid was just like, no, do something. And it just didn't occur to him really that he has to create something in order to get the ball in those situations. What are your thoughts about that?
So this is a really hot topic. I've been thinking about this for a while. First thing I'd like to point out is it's funny hearing you say that, given how much you wanted him in midfield. Obviously, under Klopp, your
Yeah.
biggest question you'd say is, why the fuck are you playing right back? Stick him in the middle. I still think that's a valid argument. This is the most Gareth Southgate thing you can expect. I'm gonna play the players you want. Fucking A. You're playing him in completely the wrong formation. This is a player that's played for one of the best managers in the world, if not probably the best in the last 5 years. They play a very dynamic 4-3-3. Liverpool don't play 4-2-3-1. In fact, when they do play 4-2-3-1, they struggle.
I don't
If
think we've ever. I
yeah,
can't think any And what are the past 3 years you
It's
played
not.
it
It's
for?
not Klopp's model. Trent came up under Klopp. Klopp's the one that gave him his debut, gave him his chance. He's one of Klopp's boys, I would say. You know what I mean? Like one of his
Yeah,
players. He doesn't know how to play 4-2-3-1. In fact, it's one of my most. I hate that formation. I hate that Man United play 4-2-3-1. The fluid 4-3-3 with the personnel we have would have been perfect because what you have is you have Declan Rice in the holding. Obviously, Bellingham playing number 10, you kind of drop him as a bit more of an 8-10 kind of box to box, which suits Bellingham. I don't think he has to be right there, number 10. He's so mobile and he's so active and he's such a presence that
yeah.
you can play
Let me
anywhere.
get water.
No
So
worries.
listening.
Those front four positions, you could put him anywhere there. So for me, I would have played obviously the back four, Declan Rice, and I would play two midfielders there ahead of him. So like a pivot, Declan Rice pivot, two in front, and I would have put Trent on the right side of that midfield where he has that little bit of space to roam. He can pick up the ball, ping the balls in. He's got that freedom to figure out because he's been down that side for Liverpool. Even when he goes to right back, he attacks quite high up. So we know he's familiar with that part of the pitch. When you play him in
Yeah.
that team, he's a lot more central. He's a lot more. I wasn't surprised at all when I saw the formation come out. I go, all right, this is the most Southgate thing. I'm going to pick the players that everyone wants me to pick, but I'm still going to do the stupid, dogmatic, extra defensive nonsense. We should have just done, and he won't change his ways. But England should play that 4-3-3 that Liverpool play with the attacking players we have and just go for it. Now, the
Yeah.
second, yeah, yeah.
So,
Sorry, go
so
on.
are you talking about like playing like a 4-1-3-3?
Not even that.
Is that what you're talking
I would say like a 4-3-3. So you have the four, then you have Declan Rice right in front, and then right in front of him you have like a two.
Yeah.
So it makes like a triangle like this. So you have Bellingham,
Yeah.
and then you have the fluid front three there. So instead of having Bellingham in that 10, that pocket, you almost have that pocket empty, and then Bellingham or Trent could take turns kind of attacking that. Obviously, they'll
Okay, the trend is like center midfield, is what you're saying.
exactly, yeah, right center mid, where he's
Okay.
got a little bit more. And again, when you're at right center mid, the defensive sort of part of your game doesn't have to be super on point as well. You know what I mean? If you're
Not at
defending,
all.
I'd even say if you're defending, let Trent go a bit more wide, have Bellingham come in, make those tackles, and Declan Rice right in front of the back four, complete shield.
Yeah.
You're attacking, have sort of that right side of the midfield, that space. Just have Trent just roam around there, get familiar with it, start pinging those balls and get comfortable. Maybe even hug the touchline or come near next to Walker. Shit, Walker can go up and overlap if he wants, and Trent can grab the ball at right back and then ping a few in. Like have that sort of
Yeah.
fluidity with him, Saka and Walker. That should be a very fluid, easy kind of part. That should be England's easiest partnership, if you ask me. Our biggest strength should be Walker, Trent, and Saka. The pace, the technical ability there between all three of them, we should be scaring teams on that side. But Southgate being Southgate, he's going to play a very rigid system. Honestly, there's no point playing Trent. If you're going to play 4-2-3-1, you're better off playing Conor Gallagher there, if I'm being completely honest.
No, I
You're,
think
waste,
that's fair.
you're wasting Trent. You're giving him unnecessary heat. You're not getting the best out of him. I just
Yeah.
think it's a Southgate thing. And it showed. First half, we dominated. Second half, it was very broken down, lackluster. Kane had a good chance as well. I think he's going to have a lot of issues. I don't think he's going to have a very good championship. I think he's injured. I think he's got a bad back injury, and those aren't easy to recover from. I don't think he has enough time. He had enough time between the injury and the start of the Euros. I think he's going to struggle. But
The one nice thing for Trent, I feel, is that he's obviously getting heat, but like I don't think it's real heat. Like I think it's kind of
shouldn't
like
it
half
shouldn't
heat.
be. It shouldn't be. Anyone
Because
that yeah, go on. Sorry.
no, I completely agree with you. But like any real football fan understands why he's struggling. Like
Yeah,
no one really. It's like he's struggling, but we all know why.
exactly. Like I just don't think the tactics are suiting him. I think the man just kind of had a bit of a cop out and said, "Oh look, I played him," but he didn't really.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you just kind of half-assed it, and now you can say, "Oh, I played Trent." I guarantee you, Conor Gallagher starts. I don't even think Trent starts the next game. I think this is Southgate's way of saying, "Okay, I did what you don't wanted me to do. Look, it didn't work. I need to go back to my tried and tested bullshit." But really, if he had been
I
brave and said, "Let's just go for it," and even if it still had the same outcome and Trent wasn't comfortable, I'd at least respect it. Like, all right, he went 4-2-3. He gave Trent the chance to shine. Maybe club versus country. Maybe the players around him. It's not the same thing. Because let's be honest, Foden struggled. Kane struggled. Like it was a very disjointed performance. And you're talking about Phil Foden, Premier League Player of the Year, crazy number of goals and assists this year, like record breaker. So it's not just Trent
I
that's
will
struggling. I
say
think this team, I just don't think it's the same belief that they have at their club level. There's not that same trust given to him in the manager.
that like I do always kind of give attackers a lot of leeway when they struggle because I feel like their performance is based on so many factors. So if the defense isn't playing well, it's very hard for them to really like get into a rhythm. Um, I find it interesting that you hate the 4-2-3-1. My feeling about it is that I do agree that it's kind of like a simple cop out type of formation. I will say though that like if implemented well, if implemented by somebody who really loves the 4-2-3-1, it can be a really amazing formation. But you're right that like so many managers kind of play it to be safe, and it's like,
Yeah, just
why are you
I think
doing that?
for me, it's a lack of trust in your players, especially in your attacking players, and you just think, oh, if we lose the ball, you're probably thinking we're going to lose the ball more likely than we're actually going to go and get some results up top. So if and
Yeah,
when we do lose the ball, I have my two sitting there, and we'll just. I mean, with the talent we have, our weakest link is our defense. So why would we
yeah,
play a defensive formation? Why not? Like I keep saying this, till I'm blue in the face. Concede three, score six. Just blow teams out of the
yeah.
water. It's more exciting to watch. These Euros, I don't think there's been up until the England game and then France today as well. And I think Slovakia beat Belgium 1-0. All the other games have minimum 3 goals. It's been a very high scoring tournament so far, which is really great to see. We're only 4 to 5 days
Yeah.
into it. So why not just keep going with that trend? Just outscore team. Just go for it. I think we're playing Denmark next. That's going to be a tough game. I knew Serbia was going to be solid. They were always going to be. It wasn't going to be an easy game, but I think we just typical England. We made it harder than we should have. Honestly,
So my favorite formation for attack, and it's kind of funny because if you actually watch Liverpool games, we actually play this formation unintentionally, but I love the 3-4-3. That
yeah.
is an incredible
When
formation,
you attack,
in my
especially,
opinion.
yeah.
And then like if you watch Liverpool games, like Trent Alexander-Arnold does roam up into that right midfield position, even when they're playing a back four. You watch the games, we have a back three. We do not have a back four. Trent Alexander-Arnold is in that right mid. I think that you're right that is kind of the perfect situation for him. And the beauty of the 3-4-3 is that you have this net of the four midfielders that allow you to catch the ball when the other side presses, but then you're able to quickly counterattack. You're able to quickly get the ball back. It's a real attacking formation. I know Antonio Conte loves that formation, and that's one reason why I love Conte because he plays it. But it's such a ballsy formation because like you'll never get fired for running a 4-2-3-1. You'll never get fired for running like a 4-3-3. But like a 3-4-3, like your job could be on the line for running that and
Results
failing.
could go
But at the
very,
same
yeah,
time,
risky.
high
Results could,
risk, high reward.
yeah,
And
you could
as
be
you
on.
said,
Yeah,
concede
you.
six, score three. Like,
I mean, you mean
or
the other
sorry,
way?
the
Well,
yeah.
you should definitely be fired if you're conceding six and scoring three. Fire the guy. But yeah, no, like I mean, it's just this. Like we keep saying it again. Like this level of attacking talent. Um, But one thing I've noticed as well, like, other previous tournaments, Germany have been off the boil, Spain not looking so good. This tournament now, everyone's fucking on point here. Like, as much as England are one of
Yeah,
the big favorites, like, I think when we haven't been favorites in previous tournaments, other teams just haven't shown up or have been knocked. We haven't had to face a big, in the last 3 tournaments, we've had the biggest teams we faced are Germany and France. We beat Germany 2-0 at the Euros last time, and we lost to France in the quarters in
yeah,
World Cup a couple of years ago in Qatar. So we haven't really had big tests. We played like smaller teams with all due respect, but even that we've made it difficult. Ecuador on penalties in 2018, Denmark, last minute 2-1 win in extra time at the Euros. So my fear now is like, we'll see how Portugal do tomorrow. France are looking pretty imperious, even though they only won 1-0 today. Like they had a lot of chances. Their pace is scary. They look so scary. Germany are flying. Oh, everyone says it's only Scotland, but still, Germany are flying. Um,
yeah.
Spain,
Scotland's
for
a
me,
good team.
Spain, I haven't seen a Spain team defend like that. They were so dogged, even at 3-0. They wanted that clean sheet. And that Unai
Yeah,
Simon, he's really something about him really impressed me. I know he's been in goal for Spain for a while now, for a couple of years, but this tournament, I don't know, he just seems to really stick out for me. He looks like a real leader and really solid at the back. So Spain's another one. I don't trust Morata up top to be able to win the European Championships, but they have goals all over the team. But I just see England coming up against these big boys now, eventually in the latter stages of the tournament. And even if we go for it, these guys are looking strong. Like this is gonna be a difficult Euros. Every time we go into a tournament when we're favorites, we don't tend to show up really. It's only when it's no pressure and we're not really expected to do much do we get to like the semis and then the final, and then we bottle it there anyway. But
Yeah.
What's scary is I could see him going. I could see Southgate against the bigger teams potentially pay. I don't think he'll do it, but let's say he plays a back five where he plays Trent right wing back, and you're thinking, oh, that's brilliant. Trent's in the squad. Again, I know there's a difference between England and Scotland, but the way Germany dismantled the back five on Friday was scary. The space between the midfield and the back five, the gaps they were finding, this Wirtz, Havertz, who's the other attacker? Shit, who else scored? There was three of them. Can't remember now.
I
But
have to
just
say, I'm not a fan of the
pay.
back five. I,
I
I,
think the
I
back
don't
five
like
just
that as a
invites.
formation.
Yeah, I think you're just asking for trouble. You're really almost inviting. You're saying, yeah, we're kind of shit. We're just gonna hold on as much as we
I,
can.
I
And
mean, I don't even think it's a good defensive formation. Like if you have someone like Mourinho, right? Like okay, but at the same time, you can just as if you have Mourinho, you can defend just as well with a back four. You know what I mean? Like
he's
you don't need to do that five. And the problem is that like you don't have enough of the midfield to really give yourself protection. Because like
yeah,
with the back five, let's say you're doing a 5-2-3, which I know Chelsea did a lot when they ended up winning the Champions League. But the problem with that is that when you even having like a Conte and a Kovacic, you're either sacrificing on offense or sacrificing on defense. Or you're sacrificing on both and having two people there who can't really create. But like I think the reason why that 5-2-3 worked is because they had N'Golo Kante, and N'Golo Kante
out this
at
world.
in that year was
Yeah,
basically two players, right? So like, okay, fine. But typically you need a midfield. People don't realize this. You need like the game is won and lost in the midfield, and the 5-2-3 you're sacrificing all of that. And unless your two midfielders are defensive mids, you have no real support for your defense, and you just have like a static line that you can
yep.
pick apart. It makes no sense to me. And you're right, like Germany, especially taking against a team like Germany, which is just a brilliant football team. Like they're going to carve you to pieces.
I don't know. I can't remember who the third player was, but all three of their attackers at the end of the first half had scored. Vert scored for. Oh, it was Musiala. That's who it was. Yeah, how I forgot. He almost played for England. So like
Yeah,
players like that can just cut apart the back five. I mean, Scotland made mistakes. There was too much of a gap between the midfield three and the five at the back. They were finding those pockets, but just the space and the runs they were making in the positional play. I mean, this Germany team. It's easy to say after a 5-1 win, but they're hosting the tournament as well. I think it'll be. I think Spain and Germany are going to be some of the most dangerous teams we'll see at this tournament. Spain's dogged defending was really impressive. They won 3-0 in a game where Croatia were in it. Croatia had a lot of chances, but Spain just
yeah.
dug. I've not seen Spain have had great defenders. Obviously, they've won 3 international competitions in a row. It was the attack was brilliant, but the midfield was unreal and the defending was solid. But there was never that sort of doggedness. Like these guys were putting their bodies on the line at 3-0 up to keep that clean sheet. So that was nice to see
Yeah.
in terms of I was like, okay, that's promising.
I really hope that this kind of Musiala's breakout tournament, because I feel that like in the Bundesliga in general, like players kind of go under the radar. But Musiala is basically like Jude Bellingham. Like he
Yeah,
really is like they have the exact same game. I don't even want to say which one I think is better because I think Musiala, I don't think like Bayern Munich is a great place for him. But if he went to like a city, if he went to
they're
a
interested.
Barcelona, I
City,
think
City.
he would
Uh,
I think he'd become like one of the biggest names in football easily. The same way that Jude Bellingham did.
he represented England in the underage groups. He had the choice to make between England and Germany, and obviously he picked Germany. But I mean, then the question is, okay, so we had even more attacking talent if he'd picked England. What's Southgate going to do then? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what else is he going to fuck up? Like,
Yeah.
Musiala is unbelievable. The way he's really come into himself. Florian Wirtz, brilliant season at Leverkusen. He looks. Who I really liked was, and again, I'm probably going to butcher the name. It was the holding midfielder. It was the guy standing alongside Tony Cruz. He plays for Leverkusen as well. He had a great season for Leverkusen. I can't remember his name now. Shit. I think he begins with A. I'll have to look him up, but he was just a beast. He was going into all the tackles. He was that sort of physical presence, just bullying the other team's midfielders. Tony Cruz was obviously the silk. This guy was just everywhere. Can't remember.
Tony Cruz, by the way, like he really like it was the Tony Cruz show that game.
99%
Like
pass accuracy. The first player in European Championship history to score, to have a 99% pass accuracy for 100 and more passes in the game. It was insane. I mean, his ball
Yeah.
for the opening goal, he's in his own half, left side of midfield, just sprays a beauty of a diagonal pass across. Next thing you know, they score within a minute, within like 10 seconds after that.
Andrek, the guy's name.
Andrick, yeah, Andrick. He was a beast. He was solid. He's like in the midfield, you've always got the silk and then you've got the steel. So like Tony Cruz being the silk and this and that, and this guy just running around everywhere, winning all the tackles. A little bit dirty, I'd say, but he's one of those. He's like an enforcer. You need one in the team, a bit like what Declan
Yeah.
Rice would do for England, basically. But he was brilliant. He had a really good game. He kept, even though Scotland didn't have much to show, like he was always winning the second balls. He kind of kept them quiet because Scotland, that midfield is pretty decent. It could be feisty, could make it a tough game. He shut everything down. He was difficult. So Germany have a very good balance. They've got goals. Fulkrug came on, scored one. Chan got a nice little worldie. So they've got they've had a few injuries, but they've got goals all over them. But speaking of midfielders and affecting games and tournaments, and going back to your Poland Netherlands, Netherlands got lucky, but man, I don't give them much of a chance because if you players like Frankie De Jong and Toon Koopmeiners injured for the whole tournament, those are two massive. Even one of them is a huge loss, but to lose both is insane.
Yeah.
That was in the starting midfield, really. Um,
I
that
say one thing about the Poland match. So, well, two things, right? So, like, yes, I know that it could have easily been 8-1. Like, I understand that. Like they missed a lot of very easy chances, but it could have also easily been 3-2 Poland because Poland had a lot of really good breaks. And guess who wasn't playing? Robert Lewandowski.
yeah,
Like, so, yes, we lost, but at the same time, we lost without our best player. I'm happy with how he played. I think they did a really good job. I think Zielinski is going to become a much bigger star in the coming years. And Szczesny, like, I think the argument right now is between Szczesny and Spain's goalkeeper for the best goalkeeper of the tournament because Szczesny just had some insane saves. He did a great job.
he looked good. Yeah, he definitely looked good. I've not always rated him, but I think he's come into his own a bit. Um, that striker Busquets or something, whatever his name, Boskus, whatever the guy that was replacing Lewandowski, he had a
Yeah.
very. I think he scored the goal from the corner, but even before and especially after that, he was having a very interesting game because if you watched him, it was kind of old school centre half play where he wasn't really he was in between the two centre backs, between Van Dijk and De Vrij, and he was just kind of his movement coming short, making those quick runs in behind. Like he was causing a lot of problems with the defenders probably thought, Lewandowski's on the bench, we might have a slightly easier afternoon today, but he made it difficult. Like he was a bit of an unsung hero when I was looking at the game. I was like, this guy's I don't know much about him, couldn't tell you much about the guy. I just know he came in to replace Lewandowski because he was out for the first group game, but he did himself credit. Like he was a real handful.
Well, here's how one injury riddled Poland is, and also how much of an underdog we are. We literally have players playing MLS. We literally
Mm.
have Major League Soccer players on our national team, which is not good. Like that's not a good sign when you have like people making less than school teachers, playing on the pitch. Overall, though, I think that France, I wasn't able to watch the game because I was dealing with this Wi-Fi stuff today, but 1-0 doesn't really fill me with a lot of confidence for them. And who knows? Maybe we can sneak out a tie. Maybe we can beat Austria. Maybe in the top two.
Austria very well drilled. Ralf Rangnick has these guys pressing non-stop. I mean, players like there's Konrad Laimer. Um, God, I'm really bad with the names today. There's the other midfielder. He's got a long name now. Number 19, I think. He had a brilliant chance to make it 1-0 Poland just before they conceded. There's obviously Marcel Sabitzer that was kind of playing as the attacker today, number 9 almost. So they've got some good players in their team. Austria always
The
tough.
problem, though, is that pressing is a really bad strategy for international tournaments because this isn't the regular season where you have a week off. You have like 3-4 days off, and you have another 3-4 days off, and like you become really tired over the course of the group
No, but I
stage.
think I think with Ranić, he's had like 2 years with this team, or at least a year and a half, 2 years with this team. Like he's got them well drilled. Like he makes them work hard in training. You can tell they're built for it. These guys weren't stopping the full 90 minutes. They were pressing. They would put France in tough positions. People were comparing the 1-0 win by England to the 1-0 win by France yesterday and today. And by far France's was way more impressive because A, they had a lot more chances, and B, they were playing a much better, much well drilled Austrian side than we played Serbia. We made it much harder work for ourselves. Um,
Although Mbappe could be out.
yeah, he had that bloody nose. He came back on the pitch and sat down and made a whole strop in a scene, which Roy Keane wasn't a fan of, which was funny to see. But I think they'll just give him a face mask, and I think he should be fine. I don't think he'll. I don't think captain of France on top of the world just signed for Real Madrid. I don't think he's gonna. Good luck trying to get him to sit out the game.
Yeah.
He got booked as well. He got yellow carded for getting back on the pitch and sitting there, so he's on a
So
yellow.
who do you think are the three favorites now after everyone's played? Who do you see
This
at the top of the
I
pile?
I want to see what Portugal do tomorrow, just because the pure talent they have. But I'm a big proponent that Roberto Martinez should not manage a football team, professional football team. I think he's terrible. I don't know how he gets these jobs. He got the Belgium gig and done fuck all with their golden generation, bottled it every tournament, and now he somehow landed the fucking Portugal job, which is crazy. So depending how Portugal, and it's against Czech Republic, I think that'll be a tasty game. The Czech Republic always shows up to play. Not seen Portugal play. Other than that, I would say Spain for me. There's something about Spain that's just telling me like they. I don't know if they'll go all the way and win it. I don't know if Morata and some of that strike force can pull it off, but I think they're semi-finalists at least, depending on how the draws go in terms of what bracket they end up in.
Yeah.
Um, Germany have to be up there. They're hosting it. They're looking pretty imperious.
Those
Um,
are set, but I don't feel like doing the math on that right now. Like you could, but
and obviously,
I'll bring that next week. I'll bring it next
uh,
week. I'll do the
and then
math.
for me, I know this is gonna sound very silly. Obviously, France and England, one of the. I actually, you know what? I might be sounding. I'd rather be pessimistic. I don't think England are going to go very far based on what I've seen so far. I think we're going to get unstuck pretty early. If we get like one of the big boys in the last 16 or the quarters, I don't see us getting past Germany right now. I don't see us anywhere near France. I think France would tear us apart. To be honest, they look so scary because we don't play as tough as Austria. We don't press as hard as Austria. We have defensive lapses. France will punish us. The pace alone in that team is what's so scary. Like Theo Hernandez was just running up and down the left side today. Usman Dembele was just doing all the flicks and tricks. Mbappe, Marcus Thuram, solid player, great season for Inter. It's just they're so fucking stacked. It doesn't even make sense, honestly. It's just crazy.
With France, you guys have to control the ball like 75%, I think. Like
But
their big weak spot is their back four, which isn't that weak, but just like relatively speaking, that's where their weakness is. Upamecano, like
the risk.
I
He's the
I
risk.
think I'm one of the biggest Upamecano players out there. Like he is a top center back, but he makes some big mistakes. I remember we played in Bayern. I think it was against PSG like 2 years ago. He was the reason
City,
why they lost.
City, City,
Like straight
City
up.
destroyed him. City destroyed him. He completely flopped against
Oh,
City.
City.
Big
Yeah.
mistakes. Yeah, he was never.
Yeah.
He's kind of recovered a little bit from that. I think international football is a little bit easier. I think he's got a solid defensive partner in Saliba, who's had an unbelievable time at Arsenal recently. But yeah, I don't know. France, the goalkeeper, he's not Hugo Lloris. I don't know much about. He's a good keeper, but can he be tested? Can he be beat? He's not Hugo Lloris. Um, for me, for England, we need to ensure Kane is match fit. Like it's one thing to have an injury, but these back injuries, man, they fuck up your whole system. Like you can't move as freely, you're stiffer. Kane isn't known to be a very mobile center forward as it is. He's pretty traditional old school. He can run in behind a little bit, but we need movement. We need people to make the run. So imagine you playing Trent on the right. If you look at those Liverpool highlights, Salah, all the players, Nunes on the run straight away. We need runners to really be making those kind of moves if we're going to get the best out of Trent and we're going to utilize what he can do.
Yeah.
Conversely, on the other side now, Trippier played left back. He did a good job, but he's not a natural out and out left back. That's going to be targeted by other teams. Germany are going to be sitting there rubbing their hands like, okay, they've got a right back playing left back. They've got Mark Gay at centre back, not the most experienced. Like, there's a lot of Pickford in goal. I'm not fully convinced as well. I think there's a mistake. I would be shocked if we went the whole tournament without Pickford making a mistake, as in like
Yeah.
flopping up or like maybe letting an easy goal in because it's just in his game, unfortunately. But
I mean, it is the problem of international football that you don't get to choose your goalies. So you have Germany with Neuer and Ter Stegen, and you
which is insane.
have Italy with Pickford. Like so I mean France did they play Mike Magnon?
Yeah, the Milan keeper. They
I,
call
I
him
I love that guy. He's great.
they call him Magic Mike in Italy. Apparently, yeah, he's solid. He's pretty solid. He was very alert. He made some good saves. I was watching the game earlier in the day. It was Romania versus Ukraine, which was a bit of a surprise. Romania 3-0 winners. And their keeper, I didn't know
Yeah.
much about him. He didn't do nothing super spectacular, but he just looked solid. Every little half deflection, didn't let anything go out for a corner, no sloppiness. So the keepers have kind of impressed me a little bit in this tournament. They've all been a little bit been on the ball. Some of these keepers that you're not familiar.
Chesney.
Chesney, yeah,
Chesney
Chesney.
stayed fucking like I forgot who it was. He someone in the Netherlands had a cross across the middle, and Chesney just came out and caught it in midair. Like that was
Yeah.
amazing. I was so happy with that.
He's a lot more command.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, he's good like that. He comes out.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like the problem with you guys and France is that it's Gareth Southgate. Like you need a Pep Guardiola. You need like a
Anyone, just
um,
someone brave. Just go for it. Like I don't know. I mean, there's talks of like this might be his last tournament. Thankfully, Ten Hag signed. Like he's kept on for this year, and apparently he's going to sign a contract extension. So, no Southgate to
yeah.
United. Probably the best news I'll get all summer in terms of football. Um, it just I just
I'm just saying you need a chemist. You need a tinkerer. You need a guy who's just like, how do I move this formation around to really get the most out of it? And you need a 3-4-3. It's fucking France. That's what you need. You need a 3-4-3, and you need to just
yeah.
attack Upano constantly. Just bring Bellingham, bring Kane, bring everyone. Just focus your entire offense on him, and you'll get 2 goals.
It's the first game of the tournament, and I know he plays in Saudi, so he's not as under pressure as he was in the league. But N'Golo Conte looked like 2021 N'Golo Conte today. He was fucking everywhere. And if he takes that kind of form into the tournament, I mean, at that point, there's just like you're fucked. Like you are truly, if you have old school at Conte for 3 weeks, like back to his best, and then you have Mbappe and all the boys up top, Antoine Griezmann, for me, which is a bit surprising I'm saying this, but I just personally think recently, I don't think Griezmann gets his flowers. He does a lot for this France team. I don't know about his club football. He's doing all right at Atletico, but for me, Griezmann for France is like that's his soul. He'll put anything on the line for them. He's the perfect player for international football. Like he just makes things. This France team doesn't tick without him. As much as Mbappe is the captain and the talisman, Griezmann for me is the guy that makes France tick.
Griezmann's problem is he's one of those players where people judge him based on how other people judge him, and he single-handedly bankrupt Barcelona. Like I think they lost like $200 million on acquiring, giving away Griezmann over the course of like 3-4 years. So it's like like that is kind of held against him because Barcelona bought him twice in order to try to get like a superstar, in order to try to get not they didn't think it was Messi, but they did think that he was like, a Vinny Jr., like someone like a that caliber. It just
Yeah.
is not like that's just not who he is. Like it's not his fault that people thought he was something that he wasn't. Apparently he's been having a great year at Atletico. Atletico underperformed this year, but that's you would expect that with like where the fluctuation is. So yeah, I mean, he is an international football type of guy. Like he's the type of guy who's meant to be on that team, on that stage, creating things.
He's
As
a
you
bit
said,
like
like
yeah. So go on. I was gonna say he's a bit like I find what Bernardo Silva is at Man City, where like he's not the first like the superstar name, but God, you'd love to have him in your team. You stick him at left back, he'll do your job. Stick him at right mid, he'll do your job. Fuck it, put him up front, false nine, he'll still figure out a way to do the job. Griezmann for me is another Bernardo Silva where it's like a Swiss Army knife. Kind of put him a bit everywhere. Put him on the left, put him on the right, put him in the middle, put him in center mid.
yeah,
He'll dictate play. Like he kind of just does everything for France. Like he'll never complain. He might not have like a superstar game, but he'll get the job done. He'll make the team tick. So you have a player like that. You have superstar Mbappe, crazy pace. I mean, I don't know if you saw. Oh, he was through on goal in the second half, and his pace is it's so scary. He just threw. It wasn't really a ball he thought
yeah.
he'd get. Takes a touch, runs through, can't catch him, opens his body up. The keeper's kind of come out. If you flash froze the moment, 99.99% no, this is a goal. He's opening his body. It's like FIFA. He's just about to go curling top bins. He missed the target. And you're just like, what were the odds on him not at least hitting the target, let alone back of the net finish? And if you
Yeah.
add that with N'Golo Kante, if he brings this, I know it's only the first game. We'll see how he does in the rest of the group if his legs start going a bit because he plays in the Saudi league. It's not the same as Premier League. He's up there, but if N'Golo Kante is back to his best for this month, there's no hope. If I'm being honest, it sounds crazy to say. I feel sorry for anyone that comes up against them. They should sweep everyone. The talent, the bench alone. If you look at their bench, it's disgusting. The players they have there, it's
I
insane.
I I will say, just like the counter to that, they are playing Rabio, which like I don't think if you're playing Rabio, like things are like you really have some holes. Like I wouldn't start Rabio. Like I wouldn't
I would
ideally
watch
want
the
to start on
highlights.
that team.
I would watch the highlights because I'm not a Rabiot fan. United have been linked with him on free transfers for a while. I don't want him at my club, but you know what? Today, fuck me. Like he's not known for his pace. This guy ran back like 20 yards, somehow got the ball back from the other team, came back and started an attack. He again, I think with the France players, the French players, it's definitely country before club. So maybe their club form is not the best, or they don't give 100% or whatever. They don't look like they do. But boy, when they put that French shirt on, my goodness, they change. They're all up for it.
Yeah, I'll have to watch the highlights because that would be a shocker to me. But who
Rabiot put
knows?
in a shift.
I could be wrong.
He put in a shift. I'm not a fan of Rabiot at all. It's not a player. Even though United have been linked and we need a midfield desperately, I would rather not sign him than bring him in. But
So 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 right now, where we're kind of at is Germany is we always thought they'd be good, but they're better than even we thought they would be.
yep.
Spain, we always thought would be good. They're better than we thought they would be. Um, France is we always thought they'd be great. They're kind of at the same level of greatness that we kind of predicted. England is kind of sputtering a little bit, but like we can still see it happening, but we kind of expected a little sputter. And then Netherlands just kind of looked like shit.
The midfield. They
Is that accurate
yeah.
of where we're at?
I think with Netherlands, they're just unlucky with those two critical injuries. Absolutely killed them in midfield. Because for me, Frankie De Jong will dictate play, and Toon Cooper Miners will just fucking run his ass off and can also dictate play, but not as well as Frankie De Jong. So again, you had that sort of steel and silk where Coop Miners will do
Yeah,
this chicken running around, make the tackles, win the ball back quick like he does at Atlanta, give it to Frankie. Frankie would then, spray the passes and make the team click. Losing them both is insane. Now they have a player, I'm going to butcher his name. It's like Reinders or something like that. He plays for AC Milan. Great player,
yeah,
very technical. His decision making is not the best. Like his final delivery, not the best. And then you have another player, Veerman, who went in midfield, and in the space of 10 minutes, misplaced 5 passes. Not easy ones, like bad misplaces as well, not like light ones. So
yeah.
I just think in midfield, like we just talk about, it's a win and lose battle in midfield. I think if the Netherlands come up against one of the big boys, I think England comfortably beats Netherlands. If I'm being honest, like our defense will be under the cosh because the pace they have up top. Um, I'm not a big Memphis Depay fan. I think he's overrated. He's wearing a stupid headband, missed a lot of chances. Gakpo's going to have a good tournament, I think. Xavi Simons will be very interesting to watch. But I think England in midfield will just destroy Netherlands. Our midfield should run circles around them.
But I mean, like even their pace at top is not that crazy. Like if you were playing like if Man U was playing as like Chelsea or something, right? And their top four were Memphis Depay, Xavi Simons, and Cody Gakpo, like you wouldn't be scared. You know what I mean? Like you'd be like, okay, this is a good front three, but they're
Manageable.
not like
Yeah, it's manageable. I think Xavi Simons is the big one where he can make things happen out of nowhere. I think Memphis Depay, he just does too. He looks easy on the eye. Like he's got a bit of pace about him. He can do a little flick and trick, a fancy pass. But again, end product when it comes to he had a really good chance on the half bounce. He just skied it over the net from like maybe 12, 15 yards out, and you're just like, you have to hit the target. If you're wearing a fucking fancy hairband that's headband number 10, you're meant to be that guy. He's 5 goals shy of Robin Van Persie's record, which is insane to me. I can't believe he's that high up. But
yeah.
you have to
But
bury
but,
those
but,
chances.
but like here's my question to Pi. Let's say there's a new story that broke that Man United bought Memphis Depay for 100 million quid. Are you upset or are you happy?
Well, first of all, I'd be upset because we bought him once before and he flopped at us once before. So we've been down this road when he was young. We've been down this road. I would be extremely, even if we bought him for 30, 40 mil, I'd be upset because for me, it's a waste. If we got him on a free
Exactly.
transfer and he was like, if he was a bench warmer and he was on low wages, like south of 100K, maybe I'd take it, a bench warmer or whatever. But for me, he's not clinical enough. He's never really been that top superstar. Um, he's also north of 30 now, so I don't think it's the right profile of player that we need to have. But for me, I think
So
if
I'm
Belgium's are
just
going to
saying
go
that
far,
I feel like a lot of times with international football, we kind of lose sight of how good the players actually are because we have, we're playing countries like Romania, Ukraine, or whatever, right? So like we kind of lose that perspective of like how good is this guy really? And
yeah,
so like, if we're looking at France and they have Kylian Mbappe
yeah.
and like versus like someone like Memphis Depay, it's like this guy's a tier 3 player at best. You know what I mean? And so the Netherlands, what they're relying on is Memphis Depay and even Cody Gakpo. Like I know he's on Liverpool, I should be defending him, but like he hasn't had a great season for us really. So like I don't know. I think that like I think the Netherlands are cooked when they're playing an actual good team. And
Yeah.
also, like Virgil van Dijk looked really old out there. Like he did not look like his actual self. For some reason, they sat Delict, even though they were kind of playing a low block
I was
sometimes. Like
surprised by
that
that.
didn't make no sense.
I was surprised
So
that I don't
I
know if
just
it's
think that Van
everything.
Dijk can do a lot. Also Belgium, by the way, Belgium got fucking
Told you.
embarrassed.
Lukaku 2 goals offside or whatever VAR ruled out. Slovakia got a good finish. That was also under a lot of VAR review, Slovakia's goal. But this Belgium team just doesn't cease to fail. Like surprise me. Like it's just insane. Like it's not the same goal. The golden generation's over. It's not the golden generation. The caliber of players they had like 5, 6 years ago, which was nuts. It was a Premier League All Star 11. If you looked at their team sheet, it was
Yeah,
insane the talent they had. I just don't know with Belgium. I don't know. I don't know what's. But then it's the first game. They lost 1-0. They could easily turn around, win the next two, and top the group. And we'll be saying something different afterwards. But up until
yeah,
that point, the tournament hadn't really sprung any surprises. Like there was no underdog that had kind of. There'd been a few bloody noses, but like you said, like Netherlands being prime example, they still got away with it. This was the first real okay, first scalp for the underdog, as it usually
yeah.
goes. So
Um,
expect more. I'm sure there'll be more
I,
coming.
I mean, Belgium, their group is Romania, Slovakia, and Ukraine. So, like, they should be able to at least get the third. Like, if they don't, then that's embarrassment. They just didn't really seem to care in that game. Like, they really just didn't seem to want to be out there when I was watching them. And like, similar thing with the Netherlands, they didn't really seem to care that much either. They seemed to like not really have that fire. The same that like you're talking about with Spain. Like Spain, I think Spain has decided that this is their tournament. They're going to win, and they very easily. I love Rodri. Rodri's one of my favorite players.
Yeah,
Like
he's playing in that position, yeah, in the world.
I mean, I just really overvalue defensive, like, really good defensive mids, and he can really play that position as well as I think anybody can right now in football.
I would agree. I mean, one team we haven't talked about, which really kind of they had the worst possible start 60 seconds into the game was Italy. Not Romania, sorry. Albania came out of nowhere and hit that fucking screamer from a mistake from DeMarco, who I actually really like. I think DeMarco's a very good left back. I rate the Italian team. Again, just historically, as a kid growing up the years, I always used to associate Italy as like the old timers, the Achillenis, everyone's 30 plus, they're the old guard, but they can figure out, they play a bit slow, but they can figure out how to beat teams. But this young Italy team, they're hungry. Barella, some of these players. Scamacca will come good in the tournament. I think he'll nick a few goals. They just look really solid as well. Italy's another one of those, and then they're the current holders as well. So only Spain have ever retained the European Championship. So I think Italy will go far as well. If England came up against Italy, I would be concerned for sure. Not just because they beat us a couple of years ago in the final, but just this young, hungry Italian team that's very sort of on the front foot. Southgate needs to really sort of get his tactics right. Like, I mean, even against Serbia, like we went 1-0 up, what, 10, 11 minutes in? Bellingham header, bullet header. Kick on. Let's fucking go get 2, 3, 4. All right, didn't happen in the first half. First half finishes 1-0. That's fine. Let's go back at it again. And he just kind of it's almost like, all right, we scored. Great. Now let's just hold on. There's almost a fear of like, God forbid if we concede a goal, if they equalize. I'd rather just hold on to the one and really defend doggedly than kind of just go for 2, 3 and end up winning 4-1 or something like that.
And that's what happened in the final too. Like he's just a scared manager, man.
The
And
final for
as
me is
Will said,
yeah.
scared money don't make no money. You know what I mean? Like,
Honestly, the final for me is unforgivable for the simple reason that we scored what in like the first minute, I think 60 seconds. Luke Shaw, like first couple of minutes at Wembley at home against an aging Italy team that were on the ropes. We could have been 3-4 up. We should have been 3 up at halftime and enjoyed the day. Instead, we go in at 1-0. You're like, oh, all right, like still half time. All right, let's come out the flying out the traps. And the more and more we kind of just the game went on, Italy just somehow got a foothold. They looked so ragged. We were Saka, everyone was running them ragged. At one point, I think Saka was through and Bonucci had to physically pull him back, get booked.
yeah,
This is like midway through the first half or like early second half. You're thinking, oh, we've got them. They're done. They're leggy, and we just let them into the game. And then typical, they get the equalizer, and then they know how to sort of manage the game, and we're shrinking in our own home stadium against in our own in front of our own fans in the final, and they're getting bigger. So for me, that was inexcusable. I'll never forgive that because that should have been an easy tournament win for us.
So there was this like American football manager named Mike McCarthy who never knew how to manage timeouts. And the thing is that like managing timeouts, if you ever played Madden, like managing timeouts is like the first thing that you learn how to do very easily. And like a 6 year old can manage timeouts in Madden. Like it's really like an elemental part of the game. And he did not understand how to do that. And I kind of think about that sometimes with Gareth Southgate and a lot of managers. We're like, they can do a lot of things well, but they just don't understand elemental parts of the
Basics.
game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like for him, like what I don't think he understood is that like there are teams that are built to park the bus. And then the other teams where if you park the bus, you're at a disadvantage. And England is one of those teams. Like if you think about it, like Luke Shaw at left back, I actually really like Luke Shaw. Like I think I'm one of the biggest Luke Shaw defenders, but he is not a defensive left back. He's a creator. He literally scored a goal. Like
Yeah.
why would you park the bus when you have that sort of back four that like the way you park the bus in England is by possessing the ball for 80% of the game. That's how you park the bus. You don't, you know, again, like I mean, we can talk about this game all day, but it's just so frustrating. But to go back to Italy, like the thing that I think serves Italy very well in international tournaments and good comparison to this is a team like Barcelona, a team like Bayern Munich, although they're kind of never in a transition phase, is that they have such a strong team identity. They have such a
Yeah.
strong identity of how Italy, not just Italy plays on a country level, but also how Italian clubs play. So it's a very easy transition from club to country that you play very defensive, hard nosed, type of football, and they just know how to play that so well. It's passed down from generation to generation that Italy should always be a strong contender to win any international tournament
They're always up
because
there.
even if they're in a transition period, like I thought it was criminal that they were left out of the World Cup 2 years ago because like they should have first of all they won the Euros. So like, what are you talking about? But like again, like I just have so much respect for that team, and I think that they can easily win the tournament. I mean, not easily, but they're definitely in
See
there
him
to
up there.
win no matter.
I think that's a very good point in terms of identity because like you said, Italy, you know how they're going to play. The Italian clubs, the system is a certain way. Now, I'm a big proponent of like your top club in your country should kind of mirror how the national team plays in a sense, or the identity should translate. So one way with that is, at least with Spain, I remember throughout the years, the Spain captain was always a Real Madrid player. Even if Barca were the top dogs, Casillas was still Spain captain during that thing, and then Sergio Ramos was captain, and so on. So there was an identity somehow followed through. England, I remember the 2006 Golden Generation. I believe Beckham was still captain, but at the time Chelsea were top dogs, and you had Ashley Cole, John Terry, Frank Lampard, Wayne Bridge, Sean Wright Phillips in the squad. The next captain, Beckham was basically on his last legs, and Sven wanted him. Beckham retired after that tournament. It was a big like, oh my god, who's going to take his position? Without a shadow of a doubt, it was John Terry, and straight away
Yeah.
winning captain of the best Premier League team the last 2-3 years, real leader, captain material, England's number one centre back, best centre back in the league in the country. When I look at the England team now, and I think all right, Gareth Southgate's come in and he's kind of fixed those problems. Because back then the problems were the Man United players kind of stuck to themselves, Chelsea were kind of to themselves, Liverpool. So that team cohesion internationally wasn't there. The league was unbelievable at the top. You know, Premier League teams are always semi-finalists in the Champions League, if not winning it or in the final. Premier League was the strongest, still the strongest league, but back then we were really taking over. Now, obviously, Real Madrid, and it's not always the English teams winning it, but City again are so dominant. They're the best team in the country the last 4 years. Who's your England captain? Harry Kane, Spurs player playing for Germany, playing in Bayern Munich for Bayern Munich in Germany. Why is John Stones, one of the best defenders in the league, Man City's stalwart defender, treble winner? Why is he not England captain? Where's the identity of, all right, City play a certain style? I've got Stones, Walker, Phil Foden, all these guys coming through from City. Why don't we kind of adopt that sort of identity? I mean, it's not going to be a problem now because all the guys get on. The Arsenal players, the City players, everyone in the England camp are best fucking friends, which is great to hear. But then what's the identity? Is it just like a melting pot of a bit of everything? Like this comes down from the manager, from the England setup, like Southgate, like we said, the fucking 4-2-3-1 nonsense. But really, why not take some inspiration from Liverpool's 4-3-3, Guardiola's system of bringing the wing backs into making that box in midfield, and just fucking the way City are dominating Europe, fucking dominate the international game like that. There's similar enough players. Oh, we don't have Rodri in England, but we have Declan Rice. We have the players that
Yeah,
can kind of do that stuff. Why can't we translate that winning mentality or that winning identity there into England? Like Harry Kane's
yeah,
great, England's top scorer. I don't believe in strikers being captains. I think should always be someone in the back four because they can see the whole pitch. They can see the whole game, and usually your centre backs, those are the guys that put their heads on the line. The defenders are solid. Even a midfielder, Gerrard is a great captain. He'd be great for England at the time. I didn't mind. But having your striker, who's not the most mobile, who's playing in Germany, kind of out of the country, and even before that, again, apologies Spurs fans if you're watching, he's only playing for Spurs. He's not playing for the out and out best team in the league. Fuck it,
yeah.
Make Carl Walker England captain. Have an
Is
identity.
De Bruyne the Belgian captain?
That's a good question. I don't really know off the top of my head. I believe he was last tournament. I don't even know if he's playing international football anymore. I think he might have retired. I think Lukaku is captain today.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree though. Like, I mean, like, I am a fan of someone like De Bruyne being captain because like that just makes sense. Or like Tony Cruz.
That much better. Like, you know what I mean? Like if Bellingham eventually becomes captain, I wouldn't be upset because he's the star and he's sort of dragging the team up. But Harry Kane up top, it just doesn't. I just think there's better options.
I mean, like, I think that like that is kind of the problem with England that you just kind of hit on the head. Like, if you think about all the top clubs, right? Like, what is their identity, right? Like Italy, hard-nosed defense. Like that's how they're winning. Germany, surgical precision, picking
Yep.
apart your defensive offense, right? With Spain, it's like free flowing. Even though it's not fully tiki taka, they still have that type of style within the team that kind of permeates it. And it's like, France is eating baguettes, obviously. The question is like, what is England's identity? And like, it doesn't really seem like you guys have one. It's just like, screaming about Gareth Southgate. Like that seems to be the English identity.
Upset.
And
Someone's
like,
the way, just annoyed. Yeah. Just complaining.
yeah, complaining. It really seems to be England's identity, which like really shouldn't be an England identity. Like, as we talked about, like I love England as a country. I love England as a people. Like, I really want you guys to win international tournament. But it's like, like, as you said, like their identity should be Manchester City possession. Killing everybody, like winning 7-3. Make Phil Foden the fucking captain. Like that just makes sense in my opinion.
For me, if you look at the other teams, like look at Croatia, Modric, the most decorated Croatian player, 6 Champions Leagues. He's the captain. In Germany,
Yeah,
Manuel Neuer, Bayern Munich's goalkeeper, the winning 11 league titles in a row, 2 Champions Leagues. He's the captain. The identity comes from there. Um, Spain, I think Rodri was wearing the captain's armband for a while for Spain, but I don't know off the top of my head who their guy would be. Again, Man City leader, fucking best holding midfielder in the world. England, Harry Kane, yeah, great goal scorer, but with John Stones at the back, or if he's not a super fucking Kyle Walker, he's been City captain, vocal, right
Yeah.
back, plays all the time, consistent. Make him the captain, and Harry Kane just carries on scoring the goals. Real leadership from the front. What's Harry Kane won? What's he used to? In the times when the shit hits the fan, can he really lead? Kyle Walker, City,
No.
they've been through it enough times. He knows what to say. He knows how to galvanize the dressing room, lead by example. And I'm not saying that's going to fix
Yeah.
all because there's still an issue of like, formation and tactics and going for it. But I just feel like we're half baked with the manager, with the tactics, with the leadership group. I think it's just
So
so much potential. Then we're just, I don't know why we're not tapping it. Southgate's just too stubborn. Like Kane's my captain. I'm not going to change it. All right, cool. But if there's better characters in there, some people don't need the armband. Sometimes there's natural captains without the armband. Virgil van Dijk, when he was at Liverpool, Jordan
yeah.
Henderson's captain, but really, we all knew Van Dijk was the boss.
Yeah. So between Stones and Walker, who'd you make it?
I don't think Stones is vocal enough. I think he's the better player personally. Like Stones, Stones in midfield and the centre back, he's more solid. It has to be Walker. He's led treble winning teams. He's been at City for so long. He's a real leader. He's a voice in the dressing room at City.
Yeah.
And because they've won so much, the experience, the know-how of winning, fuck it, give it to him. Man City
Yeah.
vice captain, because I believe at City right now, De Bruyne is captain and Kyle Walker's the vice captain. So
Yeah.
if you have the vice captain of the most successful fucking team in the league the last 4 years, and probably one of the best, if not the best team in the world, treble winners last year, why not give him that
Yeah.
thing? Why not make him the face? Now, granted, he's had a few scandals off the pitch, and but what England captain hasn't? I mean, like football players always on and off can have these issues on and off the pitch, but if he's doing his job on the pitch and he's a constant presence, why not give it to him? Kane, super clean, never had any issues, no scandals, hasn't won anything.
And
Why
that's
not?
really the most important thing. And and
Yeah,
and and and, and, and that's the general thing about life that you see is that like you have people who are a little dirtier, but because
yeah,
of
but
that, they know how to win. And people
successful.
like Kane, a little bit too perfect. He looks a little bit like a Disney prince, although he
Yeah,
talks like a fucking, you
yeah, a
know,
little slow.
he has a huge Cockney accent. But Kyle Walker kind of looks like what you'd expect from an English footballer. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, I completely agree. Any final thoughts on the Euros so far?
Very happy with it so far. A lot of goals flying in. It's been entertaining. But I remember the World Cup in Germany in 2006 was the same thing. Something about tournaments in Germany and like mainland Europe, there's a lot of goals. It's just very exciting. I'm looking
I
forward to
I, I actually want to ask
the
you about that.
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt. One thing that a lot of people have been pointing out, and especially as European, I want to hear your thoughts about this, is that people talk about like Qatar, it's not a football place, and Russia, not a football place, and it's like, why can't we have the World Cup amongst people who actually love football? Like you see these scenes from Hamburg, from Germany, of just people just like these
yeah.
fans who just love the game, just being able to watch the game, versus like you saw the scenes from Qatar where it's just like there's no dancing on the street. There's one video I'm pretty sure you've seen where like an Albanian fan like broke pasta in front of an Italian fan. The Italian fan was crying. Like I mean it's obviously like a joke, but like you have people who love the game congregating together. Like why are we having these matches in South Africa? In which South Africa is a rugby country. They care about rugby. They do not care, and they care about cricket. They do not care about football. Why are we having it in America? America does
I'm
not
looking forward to
care
that
about
one.
football.
I'm looking
We're
forward to that
starting. We're
one.
starting to care. We're starting
Yeah.
to care, but like let's like all of these games should be in Madrid, in London, in Hamburg, in Rome. It should just be these cities. Am I
I,
wrong?
I have a friend that went to the World Cup in Qatar in winter, and he spent a month out there, and he met Cafu, he met Beckham, he met some crazy people. He had the best time. He said it was brilliant. So I'm not against it because I like the idea of football being shared amongst the world, this and that. The World Cup in South Africa was great. The issues we had was that the ball that they designed was flying. None of the strikers could really hit it back then. I remember it was a really fuck. There weren't many goals in that tournament. That wasn't the country's fault. Just the design of the ball. There's just something about mainland, especially like Germany or like France or one of these countries where it's just like, I mean, I don't know how many games you've seen where the crowds are insane. The fans in the
Exactly.
stadium are dancing up and down. The Albania fans was fucking amazing the other day. It was brilliant to watch, honestly. And it's just nice when you get those kind of tournaments. I mean, the World Cup in Russia was pretty legit as well, from what I remember. As an England fan, we did well. I don't mind breaking it up, but I do like it when it comes back to like its roots as well. I think
But that's the thing. Like I agree that you should break it up, but they've gone from breaking it up to always being broken. You know what I mean? Like putting aside Brazil in 2014, it's
yeah,
been Qatar, Russia, South Africa. What was the one in 2006?
Germany. It was in Germany. Yeah,
Okay, well, yeah, exactly.
they came back
That's what
around.
you
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
I,
I remember.
I just think I think the World Cup should just go between England, France, Spain, Germany, Italy, Brazil, and Argentina. And it should just be a loop. Those are the
Oh,
countries.
the plan for the last Euros before obviously COVID fucked everything up was to do like it was going to be the Euros, but it was going to be across Europe. So you were going to play games
Yeah,
everywhere. They've kind of scrapped that now, and obviously Wembley ended up hosting a lot more games, like the quarterfinals, semis, and the final, all at Wembley. So it's kind of like a home tournament for England, even though we fucking bottled it against Italy in the final.
yeah,
It's nice that all the finals, all the semifinals are here. But again, I'm open to like I can't wait for the World Cup in 2 years in America. Like I hopefully plan to be living back out there by that point. But I'm really looking forward to going to Mexico for some of them games. Even if I don't think I'll attend a game, but just the fan parks and just enjoying the atmosphere. Um,
oh, Mexico will be fun.
Mexico, I'm obviously the number one place I'm going to avoid is Vancouver. I'll never go back there. But even in Canada, Toronto would be interesting. Obviously, I can't wait for the states to host it, like New York and stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing where I can sort of where I can sort of hop around and catch the fan parks or see if I can even get tickets to an England game. But I know people relatives that went to the World Cup in '94 in the US, and England didn't even
Yeah,
qualify for that World Cup. We weren't even there, but they had a great time. So I mean, because America's American, it's still a great time. And on top of that, if there's a World Cup, it's only going to be super fun. Do you remember in
yeah,
SF when we had the Super Bowl that year in SF? Like, how much fun was that? Like, the whole city
that's
was.
true.
It was really cool. So I enjoy it. I enjoy going to the new areas. I don't know where the Euros are going to be next time or the World Cup after the US, but I'm excited for it. As long as the crowd and the fans, everyone
Saudi.
behaves. It's going to be in Saudi.
Yeah, after the US.
Okay, shit. So that's 4 years after that, 2036. Let's see. Let's see how the game. But then the problem I had with the only problem I had with Qatar was it just didn't make sense because of the weather and stuff, and then they had to move it to the winter, and that really pissed me off because obviously the disruption in the league and the injuries we've talked about since. It just has to make
Yeah,
sense. You know what I mean? Like you can't just have take the tournament there to disrupt everyone else's. Like you can't disrupt the game as a whole just to pacify one nation or one group that are trying to sort of blow up the
yeah,
game. Obviously, if you look at it now, like right now, the Euros. I don't know if you guys have seen it here. It's still like Visit Qatar advertisements, Alipay, all this stuff. So they've already integrated themselves into the game really well. But as long as it makes sense, I'm happy. But if you're going to start like fucking up domestic leagues during Winter World Cups multiple times and then like players getting injured the next year, then I'm not for it. It has to make sense.
yeah. So I guess it's something that we disagree on, and ironically, we're on the side of it that you wouldn't expect. Where I'm on the side of not having it in the US, and you're on the side of having in the US. Like for me, I just think that just like one final thought about it is I think that like we kind of like you know pretend a little bit with these types of things where we're like, oh, it's like an international game, the whole world cares about it. And it's like it is, but it also like really isn't. Like we saw this with Jordan Henderson in Saudi, right? Like he left Saudi because there were less people at the games in Saudi than there were at like rec league games. Like I think in one game it had like 30 people at it, right? And like fundamentally, like in my opinion, this is a European and a South American sport, and everyone else is just kind of visiting. Like having you know the football cup in Saudi Arabia to me makes as much sense as having the cricket World Cup in Canada. It's like, yeah, you get new fans, but like cricket is a game between South Africa, Pakistan, India,
I
and like a
hate
few more other
I
countries.
fucking hate cricket. I'll never watch it. I can't stand it. You couldn't pay me enough to sit for 5 days to watch this bullshit. Like I hate cricket. I hate.
I was gonna go to a game in Mumbai, but I decided against it. I was just like, yeah, I don't really feel like it.
But then, you know what's funny you say that? The one I was just thinking now, like, where's the one place I wouldn't go to watch the World Cup? And with all due respect, it would probably be India. I would not go to India to watch the World Cup, as into a
Yeah,
stadium. I would, I would happily sit that one out, just because there's just so many people. It'd just be such a mess. Um,
I have to
it'd be
say
fun. It'd be an
India
experience.
was was the one country on my trip I didn't enjoy. I'm not a fan of India.
It's a lot.
I would go back just for the food. The food was amazing, but everything else is just. I think there are cultural differences between people, and there are countries that people are just naturally drawn to. And India for me was just like I was just like, nope, I'm good. Let's
Funny.
go to Morocco.
It's funny because I remember I've my first World Cup memories are probably 2002, and it was when Japan and South Korea hosted it, and that was a
Yeah,
really cool World Cup. I think Japan went pretty far to like it's one of those countries, either South Korea, I think it might have been South Korea. One of them went to the semis, and my mom's not a football person, but she just loves an underdog story. And I remember her
yeah.
just screaming at the television in the semi-final. Japan lost. I believe it was Germany or Brazil that beat them, but she was so upset. I'm like, we're not even like South Korean. Like, why are you so mad? You don't even watch football. But it was just the story. She just loved it. Like it was like they got all the way to the semis. It was super cool. I mean, Morocco last time in Qatar was insane. Like you, Morocco in the semi final. Like what the fuck? Like it's insane.
Yeah. I mean Morocco was great because that is just
I
the
love that
vibe
coach.
they have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whoever
If
that
you have a
coach
team
was,
that
was
cares,
brilliant. Hmm?
if you have a team that cares and you
Yeah.
mix that with just a few talented players, you can go really far in football. One last thought about that is that like everything putting everything I said to the side, I would be fine with any international event being held in Japan. Japan is one of the coolest countries I've been to. They can
Yeah. A lot of
hold
people
the
love it.
football World Cup. They can hold the cricket World Cup. They can host the Super Bowl if they like. Japan is a fun time, and any excuse to go to
I've
Japan,
heard,
I'm for.
I've heard a lot of good things. I've heard a lot of good things. It's on the list. I'm not really drawn to Asia too much, if I'm being honest. I'm more drawn to like where you are now, like South America more. But um,
Yeah, we we
I've heard
we
I've heard
we
a lot of
haven't
things
spoken
about Japan.
about that, but we have to go to Japan together once the show pops off and we have the money to sponsor
Oh,
these trips.
on tour.
A couple of things,
Yeah.
because I actually do have to go because I'm I'm unable to charge my computer because I'm using that for my Wi-Fi. So I have to charge the computer because I'm talking to VJ in minutes for our next Haterade episode.
Is it today?
Um, 10 minutes.
Oh, perfect. I'll tune into that one. Perfect. I've got something to watch tomorrow then. I said to him the other day, I was like, when's the next hater? You were supposed to chat to me. He was like, yeah, we're doing it on Monday. I was like, yeah, cool. So we.
But what was I say? Oh yeah, I'm doing the slap video.
Right. Yeah.
Where but my hope of that is that it goes viral, like a few million views on it, and then we get a bunch of views onto this show because of that. Like a
So
lot of people want football fans go to the channel and start watching this.
so just to confirm, yeah, I know you have to just quick question. So are you just gonna like walk around and just ask them to slap you, or you're just gonna say something to insult them and then expect the slap?
Oh no, I'm gonna ask them to slap me. So
Oh,
what I'm doing is I already have one person who I found who's gonna walk in and hold the camera because I realized that like I don't want to give people in Brazil my phone for obvious reasons. But yeah, so I'm gonna ask them like, hey, YouTube video, slap me. We're gonna videotape it. We're gonna do 50 slaps. I have a person going with me tomorrow, and then my Airbnb host, I was just hanging out with her daughter. I'm gonna ask her daughter if she can help me also to walk around with me and ask people to slap me. And then we're gonna put it all together. And the title of the video is 50 Brazilian Women Slap Me, which is just like the perfect clickbait. Because anytime a guy sees a video with 50 Brazilian women, you want to click on
yeah,
it.
just to
You know
see.
what I mean? Like just to see
Well,
what it is.
wear the gun,
So
wear the mouth shield, clench up, and yeah, hopefully it's not too bad.
I think
Power.
by next week, so our last video, and we've already talked about this. We don't really care about views, but our last video got like 6 views. I think this video is gonna get 1,000.
Jesus. Oh yeah, let's see. Like I said, good on you. You're putting it out there, but I thought I misread. You messaged me. I thought I misread it. Like 50 women are gonna slap him. Like what? And then how's he gonna do it? Like all right, like let's see if it works. It's some sort of marketing shit. Like you guys know better than me. I'm not a sales guy. Let's see how
Yeah.
it goes.
Hopefully it's not for nothing.
Oh, no. I mean, if you get some numbers out of it, you pull some birds. Can't hurt if you get something out of it.
That's
The
that's
worst thing would be, if they slapped you and then took your phone. That's insult to injury. Like took your camera and slapped you. God forbid that didn't
that'd be
happen.
the worst.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right, dude. We're gonna end this next week. More Euros, and we're gonna talk about Ten Hag because we didn't get a chance to do that today.
So
But we're
yeah,
gonna
I'm
be talking
happy he
Ten Hag.
signed on. But yeah. He actually last thing he did actually was really funny was he had a little dig at Southgate the other day, yesterday after the result. He's like, oh, they wanted him to take my job. These fuckers gonna only beat Serbia 1-0. He didn't say those exact words. We'll get into him. I loved it. I love the attitude. I'm so happy for him, honestly. Good on him. All right,
Yeah.
man. Take care. Give my best to Vijay. I can't wait to see that episode
All
as
right.
well. All right, bro.
We'll do. Talk to you later.